Welcome to your professional learning opportunity, which is focused on Explore Learning, also known as Gizmos. As we learn about this program, it's important to start by taking a look at what a gizmo actually is. While we take time to look over Gizmo and what it is, please don't worry if you see a lot of different buttons or options available that might feel overwhelming. We're going to take some time later in the video to go over that. A gizmo can be referred to as a simulation or a lab that you can utilize in your science and math classrooms. When you first log in to Explore Learning, you're taken to an area called your home page. From that home page, you can search for different gizmos or simulations that you would like to utilize with your students based on the topic that you teach. If I were a math teacher, this reaction time gizmo might be one that I find helpful. When I first look at a gizmo and the information available to me, I will see that there are a lot of different options. We're going to start by looking at the video preview of this gizmo.
Hi, my name is Ali Legra, and I'm going to walk you through a gizmo today. Have you seen how fast superheroes can react? Let's test your reaction time and see how you react. In the Reaction Time 1 gizmo, we can measure reaction time and then calculate the range, mode, median, and mean of your data. Data can even be displayed on a list, table, bar graph, or dot plot.
Now that we've seen a quick video introduction of this gizmo, let's take a look at what the simulation looks like. In this particular simulation, students and/or teachers can test their reaction time as a way to figure out the mean, median, mode, and different statistics when working in a math classroom. You can see that each gizmo or lab has different settings that people can change to best meet their needs and the learning going on in the classroom. You can see that the simulation occurs when a beep is played and the student or teacher hits the spacebar or any button on their keyboard to stop the ruler, and the reaction time is recorded. Once a sufficient number of reaction times are recorded, this lab allows you to go through and look at the data in different ways. So I can display it as a table, I can display it as a dot plot, or I can display it as a bar graph. Particular gizmo would be especially nice in a statistics classroom, as it allows me to display different data on the screen. This will help me calculate my work and also give students a way to go through and double check that they're getting answers correct as they work with the information. A favorite for many teachers that work with this program is that each gizmo has a set of assessment questions available. Students can go through and participate in the simulation that's at the top. And once they complete the simulation, they can go through and try and answer the associated assessment questions. Once they do that, they can check their answers, which also sends them to you as a teacher so you can get feedback in a quick and efficient way and understand what your students know about the topic at hand. Once a student or teacher clicks on the Check Answer button of the gizmo, they will see the questions that they got right and the questions they got wrong, and they will also get a short description of why they got the answer wrong or why they got it correct. So it gives students some immediate feedback and they can hopefully better understand what's going on. Students or teachers can also print these results or save them for better record keeping. When you start thinking about how programs can make your life a little bit easier and kind of what they can do for you as an educator, let's take a look at the lesson info feature of Gizmos. So when I click on lesson info, I will see that this gizmo and other gizmos as well have a lot of different materials available for me to take a look at. As I scroll down in the gizmo that I'm looking at, I can also take a look at those lesson materials that are available. Towards the bottom of the page, you'll see gizmos, materials that other educators have created. The really nice thing about some of these is they are created in a Google Doc format. To show you that, let's start by looking at one of the lesson materials Explore Learning provides us. This is called the Student Exploration Sheet, and you can see it provides further questions so students can get a deeper understanding of the topic at hand. As I scroll down into the lesson materials, I can see that I got lucky and that they have this Student Exploration Sheet in a Google Doc format. So if I click on the blue link that's provided, I'm forced to make a copy. And so now in my drive, I will have my own copy of this Student Exploration Sheet for reaction time. And I could use this Google Doc with my students. I would probably put it on Google Classroom and have them complete this as an actual worksheet in the virtual learning that will be taking place. You could also use this again when you're in person with your students as well. When I scroll back to the lesson materials, I'll see that I have a teacher guide available to me. These teacher guides provide educators with lesson overview, suggestions for a sequence that you might want to utilize when running these simulations. I like that it even gives the estimated time for how long different activities might take. So you can see that there are a lot of different things available to you that should make your life easier when you run the simulation. It just gives you a better idea of what's all going on with the specific gizmo that you're going to be working with. As we go back to the lesson materials, you'll see that there's also an exploration answer sheet. What I like here is that Gizmo kind of checks in with you to make sure you want to download this, because if you download it and accidentally share it in a way that's not suggested, different students could get answers to it. So I like that they give you that warning before you download the actual answer sheet. And also available is a vocabulary sheet that has the different important vocab words for this lab or simulation. We'll see later how we could use that in our Google Classroom. Notice that any of these items I could download to my computer or device for quicker access. When I go back to the lesson info page, I can click on some of the different features that are listed right below the Gizmo description. The teacher preset feature allows me to set up a gizmo in a manner that I would like to use in my classroom. This can be beneficial if you're running the gizmo on a projector. I can go through and I can take a look at the assessment questions that are going to be available for students and teachers to fill out. I'm a teacher who's been working on Explore Learning and become really comfortable with the program. I can choose to contribute lesson materials for other educators to take a look at. I can add different recommendations to this gizmo so other people will take a look at it. And I can even share it out with cohorts or students in a manner where I email it to them or post it on Facebook or Twitter. I would choose the email feature. It's pretty neat. You can click on it, type in who you'd like the email to go to, and it will send it directly from your account. Hopefully now you have a better idea of what Explore Learning and Gizmos is all about and what a gizmo is. So now let's take a look at the teacher perspective of the program and show you how you can get started. The first step you'll want to take is log into Classlink. And when you log into Classlink, you should be able to scroll down and find the Explore Learning or Gizmos program. Almost looks like there's a little pigeon on there when you find that button. Now, if for some reason you're not seeing the program, you can search for it by typing in Explore Learning. You can also search for it by typing in the word Gizmo, and the program should pop up to the top of your screen. And you'd also have a little link you can utilize to click on Explore Learning or Gizmos. Once you click on Explore Learning inside of Classlink, Classlink will do its work and log you into the Gizmos program and take you to the home page that we showed you earlier in this presentation. As a teacher, when you're on the home page screen, you'll see classes that you have created for your students. You'll get a list of recently viewed Gizmo labs or simulations that you've looked at. Gizmo will also give you a list of labs that you might be interested in based on the content or grade level that you teach. And you'll also see featured gizmos that are available to take a look at. Located at the bottom of your homepage, you'll find different contact information and links you can utilize to make Explore Learning an easier platform for you. Let's take a look at the blue link underneath Gizmos You'll Love. If we click on this blue link, it allows us to pick the different subject areas we teach, the different grade levels we work with, and the content specific to our classroom. Once we do this and click on the blue Save button, we can go back to our teacher homepage. You can do that by looking at the menu at the top of the screen, or you can click on the blue teacher homepage link to get back to this screen. If you do that, you'll notice that the Gizmos You'll Love changes, so this makes your life a little bit easier and kind of makes the program work for you. As an educator, when I'm back to the top of my homepage, I can start to create the classes that I would like to work with. If I go to the My Classes menu, I'll see that right now I have a Class 1. I can see that's also located underneath My Classes. Towards the bottom of My Classes, you'll see an Add New Class button. I can also add a new class if I go to the Class 1 feature and choose to change the name of the class that I'm working with. I'm going to go back a screen and create a brand new class so you can see how the next screen will look with two classes on it. So I'm going to name this class, and once I put the tab name for the class, which is Math 3, I can put the full name, which we'll call Hour 3 Math Algebra, and we'll choose to add this class. Once I create the class, I'm taken to a list of my classes. You can see that there are two different tabs at the top, one for Class 1 and one for Math 3. By clicking on the pencil, I am given the ability to rename my class if I so choose. In this case, I'm going to cancel because I'm comfortable with the name. If I click on the Manage Class menu, I'll see a lot of different features that are available. I can import classes, rename them. I can manage my roster. I can reset classes, or I can choose to delete a class that I do not want to work with anymore. If I click on Class Roster, I would get the same features that I would get if I clicked on Manage Class Roster. In this class, we can see that because it's brand new and we're starting fresh to show you how to work with the program, there are 0 students currently enrolled. When I click on New Student, all I need to do is to type their first name and their last name and choose Add Student. In doing this, I create an account for the student named Joseph Ben. Gizmos or Explore Learning creates Joseph Ben a username, and by clicking on this gray box, a password that you could give to your students. So if you were in in-person learning to start the year, this might be the easiest way for you to get students signed up for the program. In this area, you'd see that you do have the capability to email students. However, you cannot utilize this feature until students log in for the first time and enter their email address. Once they do so, the envelope will turn blue, giving you the capability to email from this program. Now, we signed Joseph Ben up using the new student feature, which again, I would see as valuable when we're in-person learning and we can share the passwords and the accounts with the students in person. Another method of signing up for Explore Learning is using a class code. Now, if we click on the blue button towards the bottom of this box, it will take us to the instructions for enrolling in this program. So you can send these instructions to students. It will show them how to log in with a class code and even gives them a reminder to write down their username and password. This method will allow you to post in Google Classroom the class code, and we'll show you this a little bit later as we move forward in this video. With our class roster set, we can return to the Gizmo list to start searching for a Gizmo simulation that will work for our class and the topic that we're currently teaching. You can search for Gizmos by looking at grade and topic. We'll start by clicking on Academic Standard and searching in Wisconsin. When we choose to search in Wisconsin, we can pick the grade level that we work with. And get a list of the Common Core standards. All of the blue links that are available can be clicked on to find a gizmo that works for you. Once you click on the blue link, you'll see that you can get to the lesson info related to the gizmo. You can choose to launch it and test it out to see if you want to use it for your class. And if you do like it, you can add it to the class that you're working with. As we go back 2 screens, we can also search for a gizmo by topic. So you'll see math on the left side and sciences on the right. We can pick the current grade level that we're working with and find our topic, and the list of different simulations or labs will pull up for us. And just as the other screen had, we can see lesson info. We can choose to add it to our class if we like it, or we can launch the gizmo to test it out and see if it will be valuable. A unique feature of this program is you can search for gizmos by textbook if you do happen to find your publisher located on the list. Again, in doing this, you would click on the blue link. You would look at the different features available, click on your textbook, and underneath your textbook, you would find different gizmo labs available. And just as we've seen with the other options, we have where we can look at the lesson info, launch the gizmo, or add it. When I am back on my class page, I can search for gizmos by looking at recommended programs. These are recommended based on the content area and the grade level that I teach. I can also look at gizmos that I've decided to share out. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Now, if I'm looking for a quick and efficient manner to find a program, I can click on Find Gizmos, and I can see the features we looked at just in a different way of looking at them. Or I can search by the topic and typing it in. So we'll look at a science one now called cell structure. When first looking at a gizmo, I typically like to click on the Launch Gizmo feature to see if it's something that I would like to utilize with my students. When I launch the particular gizmo, I can see what features it has available to me. At a quick glance, I can tell that the cell structure gizmo is a little different from the reaction time one we were working with earlier in the presentation. This one gives me a list of different items that I can explore. As I explore those items, I'll see that arrows will pop up on the screen, and I can use the feature on the right-hand side, almost like a magnifying glass, to learn a little bit more about how a cell is structured. Again, if I scroll down, just as I did with our gizmo earlier, I can see that there are assessment questions available. As a student or a teacher, I can click on the full screen feature to make it a little bit easier to work with the lab that we are working on. If this is a gizmo that I like, I'll choose to add it to my class. I can also click on the lesson info to find out a little bit more with the program, and I can choose to add it to my class from here as well. The nice thing about adding it to a class is you get to pick the specific class that you would like to add it to. Now that we've added the gizmo, let's click on the My Class feature and take a look at the Hour 3 class we're working with. I can now see that cell structure gizmo is part of this classroom. If I want to, I can also choose from this area to click on the lesson info. I can click to launch it from here as well. On the left side, where you kind of hover over, you do have some different features for each gizmo, where you can organize them in a way that you best see fit for students. So you could move gizmos to the top, you could move gizmos down so students see ones first. You can make certain gizmos visible. You can even choose to delete them out of your class. Let's take a look now at analyzing data and the grading feature of Gizmo. So as we saw, there are assessment questions in each Gizmo that we work with. As you can see in this data, the students haven't gone through and taken the assessment yet. Once they've taken the assessment and you go back to your home page, you'll see that a blue bar graph appears with a number next to it. That basically means that you have some responses you can check for the Gizmo that a student has worked on. So let's click on hour 3 and we'll take a look at the new data that's become available to us as teachers. Once I click on the blue link, I can now go to my results and see how students performed on the cell structure Gizmo. In this case, I can see that Joseph Ben took the exam and got a 2 out of 5, earning a 40%. A nice efficient way of looking at this is I can see the 3 red boxes showing me that he's got 3 incorrect answers. I can click on Joseph's Ben name if I'd like to see a little bit more of this info. Once I'm ready to move on and work with another Gizmo, I can choose to add another Gizmo to my class. We're going to look at the air track Gizmo, and we're going to say, you know what? I don't feel like this is one I want, but we're going to start by adding it to the class. When I add it to the classes, I can go back to my hour 3. I can go to the options available to me, and I can delete it out of my Gizmo class. Once I hit the X, this Gizmo will be removed. I can also choose to click on the 3 dots to remove it from the group. Let's go back to the search area and add a Gizmo that I would like to utilize. Once I've found the Gulf Range Gizmo that I would like this class to see, I can go to the feature of adding it to a class and put it with my hour 3. And just as we looked at before, if I go to my classes and click on the hour that I'm working with, I have some features of how I would like to organize this class. Now you may have noticed when we've been looking at the options, there is a My Gizmos lists. My Gizmos lists are gizmos that you can share out with other educators that are using this program. So if you create a gizmo and you think that it would be valuable for your fellow teachers to look at, you can do so in this area. Basically, it's a way of sharing items out in another manner. By clicking on the question mark in My Gizmo Lists, I was able to get a little bit more information in the help area about what it means to share a gizmo. If I feel like I've worked with this program quite a bit and I'm ready to add an item, I can go to the class that I work with and we'll go to Math 3. And once I'm in my Math 3, I can go to Manage Class and I can share my gizmos list. I'll have some information that I need to fill out in order to make this happen. So first I'll put in the name of the gizmo list I'm sharing. I'll put the topic that I'm going to be sharing it with, the grade level, and the different areas. Once I click to share the item, it tells me that I need a description, so I go back and add the description for the gizmo that I'm going to be sharing. Once I have shared out this gizmo list, I can go to the area of my home page. I can go back to my menu of My Classes and look at my gizmos lists. And I'll see that these items have now been shared out for other teachers to take a look at. If I feel like, you know what, this isn't something I want to keep sharing or I'm not ready to share out, I can go to my gizmos lists and I have some different features, and you'll see at the very bottom I do have the option to delete this gizmo list. And since it is a practice item, we'll go through and confirm that we're going to delete it. And you can see we're back to the empty screen just as we were before we went through this process. Now, when you're working with Gizmo and Explore Learning, they have some great help features for both teachers and students. So if you watch this video and you still have questions, you can always take a look at the different articles they have available for it. What I like is that once you click on a help area, you can also go to the top screen and search for a different area of help. When learning about a program, It's important to see the student perspective of things so you get a better idea of how items are going to work, especially during this virtual learning. For students to log into Explore Learning, they'll need to be taken to the explorelearning.com website and click on Login or Enroll. Students can log in with a username and password if you've created one for them, or if they have already created one themselves. Here you'll see that they can also utilize a class code to log in as well. I had to bring back up an important document that we showed earlier in the presentation. This document again shows students how they can log in to Gizmos using a password or a class code. Now remember, this is something that you could eventually download and share with your students, and we'll show you that with Google Classroom a little bit later. For this presentation, we're going to log in with the student that we created earlier in the teacher section. We're going to log in with Joseph Ben and click the login button. Once we are signed in as Joseph Ben, you'll see that the screen looks very similar to that of what a teacher would see on their class page. The student can see the gizmos that you would like them to work on and choose to launch them. They can click on the blue classes button to see the classes that are available, and they can also go into their account settings on this page. From the account settings, they could choose to enroll in another class using that class code, or they could click on the account settings button and go in to change any information that might need to be updated. If you created an account for the student, this is where they would have to go in and to enter their email, so you can email them from the program. And this is also where they would have to go in to change or update their password to something that they see fit, or maybe something you've asked them to change the password to. Once we go back to our classes, we can choose one of the gizmos that we would like to launch. As a student, you can also click on the lesson info to find more out about the program. When I get to the gizmo that I've launched, as a student, I might have a video that I can watch. I'm still able to share out the gizmo, and I can view it as full screen to experiment with the program. As I scroll down, I will see the assessment questions that are available and can go through and answer those. Once I answer those assessment questions, again, the teacher will get the immediate feedback. I'm going to go through and answer the questions so you can see what a student will see once they check their answers. When a student chooses to check answers, they'll find out the questions they got right and the questions that they got wrong. And just as a teacher, they can scroll down to see why they got it right or why they got it wrong. So again, nice for a student that you can get that immediate feedback. You could also, as a student, choose to print or save this page for your records. Again, as we mentioned, you can look at the lesson info as a student. So if a student clicks on the lesson info button, they'll have the ability to look at that exploration sheet that goes along with this gizmo. They could choose to print that out and fill it out themselves if they would like. Again, it is in a PDF format currently. They also could take a look at the vocabulary sheet that's available, so they know the terms and expectations that you might have for the specific topic or lesson. Students can go to the full lesson info page just as you have. Notice that there are a couple options that aren't available to students that you have. For example, they don't have the answer key that's available on the teacher portion. This gizmo does have a video available and the ability to launch it. If students would like to, they can click on the assessment questions to get a quicker view of the assessment before they work on the actual experiment or lab. Just as you can see from looking at cell structure and time reaction, you can see that each little simulation has different options available to make the program the best it can for the topic at hand. What I like about this feature is that students can experiment in different ways. And if you had them in groups, students could talk about the different things they tried out to get different answers and different results. So it really allows itself for kind of differentiated learning, but collaboration as well. If students are so interested in learning about science or math, they can look for gizmos on topics that interest them. They do not just have to experiment with the ones you make available to them. So if a student would like to learn more about equivalent algebraic expressions, they can search for that topic and they can play with the gizmo to learn a little bit more. So this lends itself to those students who really are go-getters and want to learn a little bit more about a program. It would also allow you the ability to give students that powerful thing called choice, where they can go through and have a choice in the work that they're completing and learning about. You can see this gizmo is almost set in more of a game format, so students will find those out there just as you will when you search for the different gizmo items that are available. We can see that there are ones for math, science, lots of items out there, hundreds for you to take a look at. If a student is working on a gizmo that they've searched for, they still have the ability to go through and take the assessment if they'd like to do that. That way they can check the answers and see if they're understanding the items that they're looking up. As we come to an end in looking at the student perspective of this program and go back to the class area, we can see that they also have the ability to look at help articles just as a teacher. The program is pretty intuitive, especially when we're talking about kids at that secondary level. As you can see, they don't have a lot that they have to look at, and they can kind of experiment until they figure out the program. But if they do need help, the help articles are there for them. And just as a teacher did, they could click on a help article, or they could go to the top of the screen and they could search out any help items that they think might be beneficial. Since we are in a virtual setting, I wanted to take a few minutes to show you how you could use Explore Learning or Gizmos with Google Classroom and some other Google products for that matter. As you log into Classlink, please remember that you do have a folder available to you that's called Google Apps. Inside of the Google Apps folder, you'll find Google Classroom. When you get to your Google Classroom, please click on the Google Classroom so you can get started by adding information related to Gizmos. One simple yet important way to use Google Classroom with Gizmos is to help students log in. So if I were going to help students log in, I would click to create an announcement in my stream. The announcement might tell students how they're going to log into the Explore Learning program. As I put information into the description, I want to think about what is important to communicate out with my students. One thing that I might put into the announcement is the link for the website that students are going to be going to, and I could also type the class code into the description. So in this case, what I'm going to do is put in my class code. I'm going to go back to my Gizmos program. I'm going to go to My Classes, click on Hour 3. I'm going to click on that class code that we took a look at earlier, highlight it, and copy it. I'm going to go back to my Google Classroom and paste in that class code. Now, a great feature with Google Classroom is I can click the Add button and add a link. I'm going to type in the Explore Learning website link, press Add Link, and you'll see that this website is now available for students when I post this announcement. If I want to put the instructions of how students can use a class code to join my Gizmos class, I can download the instructions. Once I've downloaded the instructions, I'll go back to Google Classroom. I'm going to press Add again, click on File. I'm going to go to the Upload feature, press Browse. I'm going to go to the Downloads folder or the desktop wherever I've saved this item. Once I find it, I can upload it. And if I click on it, I now see that students should be able to open these instructions for logging into explorelearning.com. The nice thing is that that's in a PDF format, so students should be able to use it or open it on most devices. Once I've posted the assignment, or in this case, the announcement, it is available for students on the stream, and they should have quick access to both Explore Learning, the class code, and the instructions for logging in. If I would like them to complete this by a certain date, I could go through and make this an assignment for students to work on and give them a turn-in date that I want them to be logged in or enrolled by. As we've watched this video, we've seen that Gizmos has a feature called Student Exploration Sheets available where students can take their learning a little bit farther. If these are worksheets that you would like to make available to your students in Google Classroom, we're going to show you that process now. When you go into the Gizmo that you're working with, you can go to the lesson info and go to the lesson materials. Once you click on the student exploration sheet, which is in a PDF format, you can download the item. Once you've downloaded that item, you can open up your Google Drive and go to New and click on File Upload. At this point, you're going to find the worksheet that you just downloaded. Remember, again, it's in PDF form. I do have two of them, so I'm going to choose to keep this one separate. When I find the PDF that I've uploaded into my drive, I can right-click on that item and choose the Open With feature, and I would choose Open with Google Docs. I can also do that by clicking on the three dots, Open With, and choose Google Docs. Now what's happening here is that Google is converting that PDF into a Google Doc. Now we can see in this case, some of it's come across okay, and some of the formatting has not. So as an educator, if I find this to be helpful, I can go through and reformat the items that need changes and update the worksheet so I can share it out with students in Google Classroom. Now, if you think it's faster just to retype the whole worksheet, you could do it that way as well. You just have to do it in a way that works best for you, especially in this new kind of learning that we're participating in. When I go to my classroom, I can now create an assignment revolving around this worksheet. So we'll title it Cell Structure Worksheet. We'll type in any instructions that we might have. And then we'll go to Add, and we'll pick Google Drive. And we'll find the worksheet that we just uploaded and converted, making sure that we put in the Google Doc format so students can edit it. Remember, this little blue area will show you if it's a Google Doc. If you see the red PDF, that means you have the wrong item uploading. Once you've inserted the item, you would want to choose Make a Copy for each student. Remember, this makes sure that they have a copy that they can work on that nobody else can delete except for the teacher. You can choose the due date, change the point value, any items that you would like to update, and click Assign. Students now would have access to an assignment created around the student worksheet that you've uploaded to your Google Drive and Google Classroom. Students could then go back into their Gizmos, launch the Gizmo exploration, and get started on the worksheet. In working with Google Classroom, some of you might remember that you can also create materials that you want to be available to your students. So if we go into Create Material, we can put a title of something that we want to share with our students. When working with Explore Learning or Gizmos, one thing that might be valuable is to share the vocabulary sheets that the program has available. Remember, those are in PDF form and should be able to be opened on most devices that students work with. If you're kind of getting ambitious, you can look at some of the other items that teachers have shared and created and see if any of those items are things that you would like to make available for the students that you work with. Just remember that if you're choosing items that other teachers have created, that you want to preview them and also check the format that they're in. If they're in a Microsoft Word format, that might be something that's harder for students to open. But if they're a PDF or Google Doc, students in our district should have an easier time working with them. When I click on the PDF of the vocabulary sheet, just as I did with some of the other items we've been looking at, I can choose to download it. When I'm in the material area of Google Classroom, I can choose to upload the file that I've downloaded. Click Upload and Browse. I'm going to find the cell structure vocab sheet. I'm going to upload that as a material, and I'll see that that'll come across as a PDF, and again, should open pretty nicely for students. When I'm ready to post this, I can go to the green button in the upper right corner and post it. If this is something that I want to make available for certain students, maybe those students who need to take a little bit extra time in their learning, I could do that as well. Once I click on Post, I see that this item is now at the top of my classwork area. If I'd like to create a topic that's just kind of bonus materials or extra materials that I would like my students to look at when they have time, I could create a topic. I could click on my 3 dots for the vocabulary material and add it to that topic. I like to do this when students are finished with all of their work and have some extra items to study or explore as a way to get information to them. In our final portion of the video, we'd like to show you how you can use Google Classroom and other Google products to get creative in learning with Gizmos. If you click on Create and click Assignment, we're going to show you how you could have students create a video that shows them participating in a simulation or trying to recreate the simulation at home. So what you would do is title the assignment. You would ask students to show a simulation of their golf sling, which relates to the gizmo that we had up earlier. We would remind them that they probably want to attach the video that they're using, and that secondary level of students, they could use phones if they have access, tablets. They could even try their Chromebooks to record a video. Now, as a teacher, you can attach sample videos for students to look at so they get a better idea of what you're expecting. In this case, my sample video is in my Google Drive, and I can click on it to attach it to this assignment. Students would attach a video in a very similar manner when they're turning in their assignment. Once you click Assign, students would see that on the classwork page, they have an assignment with an example video showing them what we would like them as teachers to complete. If you are a teacher who's comfortable with Google Docs, you could use Google Docs to communicate with students. Maybe you could create a worksheet for them that works around the scientific method. On this one, you can see that tables are used. You could eventually share this out as an assignment and have students type their answers in. If you are a teacher who has specific expectations of how you want students to log in, you could upload the directions that were created by Explore Learning, and you could adapt them to meet the needs of your classroom or the Racine Unified School District. Again, kind of thinking of ways to get creative here and working with our products that we have available. A fun one for maybe working with those art teachers out there or collaborating with art teachers is you could use Google Drawings as a way to have students recreate some of the simulations. So in the cell structure item that we have, we could use Google Drawings to ask our students to draw a picture of a cell. And basically what they would do is create this using shapes. But again, our students can be pretty creative and come up with unique ideas. So you kind of let them go on their own and see what they come up with when creating the cell. I'm not very artistic, so I'm going to just use the shapes as I mentioned earlier. If I wanted to, I could even put in arrows to kind of point out the different parts of the cell that I'm working with. So a lot of these ideas are going to depend on the gizmo you choose and the different simulations you find. If we go back to that golf swing idea, we could use Google Slides. We could even use that with the ruler or time reaction idea. And we could have students find a picture of a ruler, put that into a Google slide, and the following slides might have to do with the information they found, telling us the mode, the median, and the different statistics that were out there. Remember when you're using Google Slides, and we kind of encourage students to use this, there is also that Explore button that they can use in that lower right corner. You'll usually see it. And that would help students and teachers themselves design slides that they think would be beneficial and important for people to see. Finally, if you're someone who wants to have your students, more comfortable with the program Google Sheets, they could use Google Sheets to enter the data that they found in the simulation they were working with. So this is the time reaction data. If they highlight that data, they could find different statistics in the lower corner of Google Sheets. So based off that simulation, Sheets could be a valuable program. Really, this all revolves around creativity and what you think might be the best learning tool for your students. If this is something you need help with and want to know more about any programs and how you could get creative depending on the simulation, don't be afraid to ask your colleagues, but also please reach out to your tech integrators. We're more than willing to help you. If you have questions about the program as well or concerns, please contact us and we can do our best to assist you. Thanks for watching this video on Explore Learning. Again, please reach out to us if you have any questions, and best of luck on using it. Thanks again.